Welcome back, everyone, to another blast from the past. Yes, I'm going to be doing another blast from the past because, well, I don't really have anything else to do. And on Monday, I've got a university class, so I can't really do universe mode on Mondays anymore because of university classes that I got to do. So I thought I'd give a video. So I thought I at least put out a video. So yeah, you guys are gonna be watching this blast from the past video. This is SummerSlam 2013. Since we're on the road to SummerSlam this year, I thought I'd look back at some of the old SummerSlams. Now, obviously, you guys know that if you guys have been following my YouTube channel, you know I started my channel right about the end of 2016. I started doing reviews around about December around 2016. The first ever review I did was TLC 2016. So you guys know I've been watching SummerSlams from 2017 and onwards. So, yeah. 2016 and back, I have watched, but I never reviewed. So, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on the SummerSlam of 2013. Now, if you guys saw my WrestleMania 30 Blast from the Past, I explained how everything is going to work. I'm going to be explaining the storylines, if I even remember them. If I remember any of the storylines from those years, I will definitely go over them and discuss it. And we'll go from there. So anyway, let's start things off, shall we? Let's start things off with the pre-show. It was Rob Van Dam versus Dean Ambrose for the United States Championship. Yep. Even in 2013, we were dealing with nostalgia acts. You think me complaining about nostalgia acts in the present day is annoying? We still had nostalgia acts back in the old days. We had people like Rob Van Dam. We had people like Rob Van Dam coming into WWE. Coming back. An ECW legend. So Rob Van Dam battled Dean Ambrose, who was the champion. Dean Ambrose lost this match by disqualification. Dean Ambrose is still the United States champion by disqualification. And by the way, Dean Ambrose was the longest reigning United States champion in history. He has the longest reign in history of 351 days. That is because he barely ever defended it. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, Dean Ambrose barely ever defended the United States Championship. He defended it a couple of times, but then afterwards he just barely ever defended it. So I think that's the main reason why his reign was so long, because he barely ever defended it. So Dean Ambrose retained by disqualification. And back then, that was when the Shield were actually booed and actually heels. Yeah, Roman Reigns, a heel. What do you know? So let's move on to the main show. So let's move on to the main show. The first match on the main show was that we had Bray Wyatt take on Kane in a Ring of Fire match. This is basically an Inferno match. If you guys remember the old Inferno matches back in the day, that's basically what this was. But with pinfalls added. That's basically what this was. It was basically an Inferno match, but basically it was with pinfalls. And if my memory serves me correctly, I think this was Bray Wyatt's debut match. I'm very sure. I am very sure that this was Bray Wyatt's first match. I don't think he wrestled on Monday Night Raw. I think all I remember is that he would attack people. Like, he would appear and attack people. I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, I'll only talk about the storylines if I remember them. But I'm pretty sure this was Bray Wyatt's debut match on television. But Bray Wyatt would end up defeating Kane in the Ring of Fire because Eric Rowan and Luke Harper found some kind of mattress that was fireproof because the flames would keep rising up and, fire. And also the other reason why they added pinfalls to this Ring of Fire match was because I don't think WWE wanted to see wrestlers in the present day get set on fire. Which I thought was kind of silly, but fair enough, I guess. But yeah, Bray Wyatt would win by pinfall because of Luke Harper and Eric Rowan finding a mattress that was fireproof and they could get into the ring and attack Kane. So yeah, that's why Bray Wyatt won that match. There's no disqualifications anyway. Next we had Cody Rhodes taking on Damien Sandow, the SmackDown Money in the Bank briefcase holder. Yes, Damien Sandow was Mr. Money in the Bank. I remember Damien Sandow. I remember Damien Sandow very, very well, and Damien Sandow was hilarious. He was a hilarious character. He was the intellectual savior of the masses, for those who remember. I enjoyed the stuff that he did with Sheamus, with the whole computer, and the whole Gordian knot, and the cups. I enjoyed some of that. I enjoyed that stuff, and Damien Sandow would turn on Cody Rhodes, and he would become Mr. Money in the Bank. Now, back in the old days, there were two Money in the Banks. One was SmackDown, and one was Raw, and one of them would have both contracts would have one title, contested. The blue one, which is the one that Damien Sandow won, would be the rights for the World Heavyweight Championship, and the red one had the rights for the WWE Championship. So they had two briefcases back then. Well, WWE technically still do have two briefcases now, but they use it but it depends on the superstar that wins it now. Nowadays, it depends on the superstar that wins it. That depends on what belt they'll cash in on. But Cody Rhodes would win this match, and the one thing that bothered me about Money in the Bank holders, the one thing that bothered me is they always make them lose for some reason. WWE would always book them to lose. I never understood that. Like, if they're the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, you would think it would make sense for them to, you think it would make sense for them to be built up, continue to look strong, make the fans take them seriously, that they could eventually become world champion. Now, I know Damien Sandow failed his Money in the Bank briefcase because he cashed it in on the wrong guy. But I just think it was kind of silly to just make your briefcase holders lose all the time. So I just didn't understand that. But Cody Rhodes, this was the first time he was a babyface for the first time since his debut, because I know he was a heel for a very long time. But yeah, that's that match. Cody Rhodes would get the win there. Then next we'd have Alberto Del Rio take on Christian for the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't understand. I think I forgot why. Like, was there a reason why this match happened? Other than Christian wanting one more match. I personally can't really remember much about this, but what I do remember is that Alberto Del Rio was a babyface at the start of his run in 2013, and then he turned heel because Dolph Ziggler cashed in the Money in the Bank. and all that stuff. So I do remember. So I do remember that. So I do remember that. But Alberto would defeat Christian because apparently Christian just wants one more match. That was basically Christian's gimmick back then. I deserve one more match. That's all Christian's gimmick was. Just getting one more match. And he lost his one more match against Alberto Del Rio. Alberto would retain the World Heavyweight Championship. Never really was a fan of Alberto. Never really was. Jesus, this next match, I don't even remember this. Was this a random match that was just put on the show? I don't even remember this. I think this match was a complete random match. Does anybody remember the storyline in this match? I don't remember this. Natalya with Cameron and Naomi versus Brie Bella, who was with obviously her sister Nikki, and all botch everything Eva Marie. Does anybody remember how this whole feud came about? This is what I said. I will only talk about the feuds if I remember them. I don't remember why Natalya and Brie Bella had a match. The only thing that could process through my brain is that, oh, this was the beginning of Total Divas. This was the beginning of Total Divas, and they just put the casts of Total Divas in a match. That's probably the only thing I could remember off of the top of my head, but I don't even remember this. I feel like this was just a random impromptu match that was just put together. I don't really remember anything about this. I really don't even remember this. But Natalya would face Brie Bella in a singles match, and Natalya wins. Natalya would put Brie Bella in the sharpshooter and tap her out. That's really all you need to know. This was before Brie Bella became Brie Mode. Brie Bella didn't become Brie Mode until next year. That's really all you need to know about that. Next we had Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk in a no disqualification match. Yes, CM Punk. Good old CM Punk. Good old CM Punk. This was a no disqualification match. Now I do remember this. CM Punk was in a feud with Paul Heyman because Paul Heyman betrayed CM Punk because CM Punk got jealous. Not CM Punk. Paul Heyman got jealous that CM Punk chose the fans over him because Punk took time off from WWE. He came back as a babyface, and Punk chose the fans over Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman got jealous. He cost CM Punk the Money in the Bank, and yeah, Punk started a feud with Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman summoned his beast on Punk. Now, you're probably going to be shocked to actually hear me say this, but this was actually a good match. Patrick praising a Brock Lesnar match? That's not very common. Patrick praising a Brock Lesnar match? Yeah, do you want to know why this match was good? Because Brock Lesnar wasn't doing the whole typical suplex bullshit. Back then, Brock Lesnar wasn't doing this old Suplex City shit. Back then, Brock Lesnar wasn't a lazy bastard that was too lazy to put on a good match. Back then, surprise, surprise, he was actually giving us some decent matches. Because back then, he wasn't just suplexing people and F5ing people. Because in a no disqualification match, he can do whatever the hell he wants. Surprise, surprise, huh? I bet you're surprised. Brock Lesnar didn't start the whole Suplex City thing until 2015. But yeah, bet you're surprised to hear that. Because I'm not a fan of Brock Lesnar. Never have been a big fan of the Beast Incarnate because of how boring he is nowadays. But Brock Lesnar obviously would win this match because, part-timers always have to beat the full-timers. Because Brock Lesnar's not allowed to lose. Never is allowed to. But the main reason why Brock Lesnar won this match is because CM Punk was obsessed with getting his hands on Paul Heyman. That's why. He was obsessed with Paul Heyman, he wanted to kick his ass, and it ultimately led to Punk's downfall. Then after that, we get a mixed tag. We have Dolph Ziggler and Caitlyn. Yeah, Caitlyn. They took on Big E Langston, 3 ain't enough man, I need 5. And his tag team partner was my adorable hero, my idol, AJ Lee, the Divas Champion. Of course, she wasn't defending her title. She wasn't defending the title. And Dolph Ziggler and Caitlyn won this match. Like, of course, they're the babyfaces. What else is new? I don't think AJ took the pin, though. I don't think AJ took the pin. I think it was Big E. I can't really remember this match. I don't really have a lot of memory of because AJ lost this one. But the one thing I really hated about AJ's run as Divas Champion, like, I love her. I love her to death. But the one thing I hated, and it was not her fault. I blame this on creative, obviously. The one thing I hated about her run is that 90% of her matches she would, like, lose. Ever since turning heel, majority of her matches would always end with her getting pinned. Like, majority of it. Like, 90% of the time. Like, she rarely gets pinned. She rarely wins. Back then, AJ rarely ever won her matches, which, to me, kind of killed her title run. To me, it was killing her reign. She was like this person that just loses on every Raw and every SmackDown, but she would always win on pay-per-views. Especially when her title was on the line. And to me, I really didn't like that all that much. Because you got to make your champion look strong. You got to make your champion look good. So, that was a bit of a shame. But Ziggler and Caitlyn won. The only thing I remember about this match is that Caitlyn speared the hell out of AJ on the outside. That's really all I remember. And I'm pretty sure Big E was the one that got pinned. So at least AJ was semi-protected in this mixed tag. And then our main event was Daniel Bryan versus John Cena. Now this match is in my opinion, I think this is the sole reason why a lot of people look back at this SummerSlam as one of the, I wouldn't call it one of the best, one of the greatest. I'd give this, if you look at this match card on paper, it doesn't really look all that great. On paper, it doesn't really look all that great. So, basically, some of the stuff, the things that saved this show was the Brock Punk match and this match with Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. Now, the women weren't really given a lot of respect back this year, so I can't really say, oh, the Divas, saved it for me. They didn't. They didn't save this show. I wouldn't really call this one of the best. I'd say it was a good SummerSlam. But the reason why this SummerSlam was good was because of matches like Punk and Brock, and this match with Daniel Bryan and John Cena. This was a hell of a match between Daniel Bryan and John Cena. And Daniel Bryan would pin John Cena. He would defeat John Cena for the WWE Championship. One of the rare cases. This was one of the rare occasions where John Cena would put somebody over. This was one of those rare occasions. Because it was around about this era back in the day, John Cena rarely ever put anybody over. So it's a rare occasion that I'm talking about an event that John Cena put somebody over. Nowadays, he does it all the time. But back when he was a full-time wrestler, he didn't really put a lot of people over. This was probably one of the best matches of the night, which was the main event. John Cena shook Daniel Bryan's hand in victory. Triple H was the special guest referee. Because, if I remember correctly, this whole storyline was that Vince McMahon didn't want John Cena or Daniel Bryan to represent WWE. I think that's what the storyline was. But Triple H he was looking towards the future. He was looking to someone like Daniel Bryan to be the face of the company in the future. But Vince didn't want Cena representing the company anymore. He didn't want Daniel Bryan to represent the company. He wanted somebody. He didn't want Bryan or Cena as champion. And Triple H vowed to stop Vince McMahon at all costs. And Daniel Bryan would win the match. He'd become WWE champion. And then all of a sudden, my boy, Randy Orton, comes out. I totally forgot he was Money in the Bank. I totally forgot he won Money in the Bank that year because he came out and he had the briefcase. I was like, oh, well, I completely forgot he was Money in the Bank winner. But Randy Orton had the Money in the Bank briefcase because I told you Damien Sandow had one. And Randy Orton went ahead and cashed in because Triple H turned heel. He turned heel. He delivered a pedigree to Daniel Bryan, and Randy Orton passed over his briefcase. Triple H ordered the timekeeper to ring the bell, and that was it. Randy Orton pinned Daniel Bryan to become a 7-time WWE champion. That's why I remember this SummerSlam pretty well, because of this shocking ending. With this crazy ending with Triple H turning heel, screwing Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan lived his lifelong dream to become WWE champion, and it was ripped away from him. That's why a lot of people will look back at this SummerSlam and look at it as, wow, that was a crazy, crazy moment. So yeah, that was pretty much SummerSlam 2013, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of that SummerSlam. Me personally, it wasn't the best SummerSlam. It was definitely good, but like I told you guys, me listing out the match card to you guys, it didn't really feel all that great. But that's how it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Blast from the Past review. Hit that thumbs up if you guys enjoyed. Comment your opinions down below about this. What did you guys think of that year's SummerSlam? What did you think of the 2013 SummerSlam? You guys let me know down below. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you all next time for more Blast from the Past reviews and much, much more.